The Cannabis Show is for information only. You should always consult with a qualified and licensed physician or other medical care provider.
Welcome to the Cannabis Show. Growing at home, Evan teaches us about the importance of nutrients. We also have a closer look at the air riser and learn about the evolution of terpene profiles. Stay tuned.
The industry that supports the ability for a medical cannabis patient in Canada to purchase legal, clean, quality medicine, as opposed to growing their own, has come a long, long way and has undergone a ton of changes. One such change that I would like to shine a grow light on is how far the licensed producers have come in refining both their techniques and processes in order to produce a higher class of cannabis. Terpene production, I can only assume, was not the main focus of most growers on the commercial scale during the early days of the ACMPR. The product that were offered then, in many cases, pales in comparison to what we see today. Better strain selection and phenotyping, along with a commitment to better growing practices, are, in my opinion, leading to a much higher terpene yields, which in turn leads to a better smelling and better tasting flower. Also, with terpenes playing a major role in causing the effects that we gain from this plant, it would stand to reason that increasing the plant's ability to produce more terpenes would equally improve the effects caused by those plants.
Hi, I'm Chris, and welcome to Growing Tips with my friend Evan. Today we are talking about nutrients, and pretty much that's plant food, is it not?
You betcha. Just like we learned in a previous episode, talking about growing mediums, if you're not starting with soil enriched with guano or manure, you're going to have to add your nutrients in when you're doing the watering.
So, like, what are all in all these bottles? That looks quite intimidating, actually.
And so that's a common complaint, is walking into a hydroponic store or a growing store nowadays can be overwhelming. There's so many different bottles, and how do you tell the difference? But for the most part, they're all very, very similar. They're all made up of three main elements: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And these are all used by different parts of the plant. The nitrogen is used to make leaves, the phosphorus is used to help produce roots, and the potassium is used throughout the plant.
So is that why there's so many bottles in, just for?
Definitely, and also at different times of the plant's life, it needs different amounts of those elements. So in the vegetative state, you're going to use a lot more nitrogen, whereas in the flowering state, you're going to use less nitrogen, more phosphorus, and magnesium, and other micronutrients that are also included in the bottles.
So how do you use the nutrients then?
Most important thing is to make sure that you follow your label on whatever bottle that you've bought. But for the most part, they're very similar. You want to start with a good water source, and then you add the nutes in the amounts that they've instructed. Don't be afraid to start with quarter or half doses, especially on young or small plants. And then you want to make sure that you pH the water.
So I always hear though terms like pH. Why pH?
So pH is a scale of how acidic or basic the water is. This is really important for the cannabis plant because it can only uptake nutrients when the pH is in the right amounts. Somewhere between 5.5 and 6.5 is usually best. The cannabis plant can't uptake those nutrients if it's not in that range, and so even if you provide all the right nutrients, it'll still show deficiencies.
Okay, so I mean, can you buy like a little thing to help with your pH systems and such, or?
Definitely, I really encourage buying a pH meter. This is a little bit of a fancier one, but there's cheaper ones you can get for $20 or so.
Okay, how much is it? Like, oh, $20. Okay, so it's not going to break the bank or anything
Definitely.
like that, but definitely something really important, especially if you're like growing in rural areas where it could be like well water or something.
Yeah, definitely really important to start with good water. Another thing you might want to think about is getting a ppm or a total dissolved solids meter. If you're starting somewhere with really hard water that has lots of minerals already dissolved in, you won't be able to add more nutrients if you have too much already in there. So tap water is usually fine, but getting an EC meter and making sure that your starting water is under 400 parts per million is really important.
to round it up, how many bottles do you need for the beginning, middle, and end? Just 3 bottles, or is it a whole bunch of different
totally
kinds?
depends on the brand that you buy.
Okay.
It's usually going to be at least 2 or 3 bottles.
Yeah. So you might not have all this at home.
No, definitely. There's all kinds of different brands and stuff, but they're all very, very similar. They're made up of those 3 main nutrients, that nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and then those other micronutrients.
All right. Okay, thanks, Evan. If you're interested in growing at home, it all falls under the ACMPR. And if you'd like more information on that, you can hit our website at naturalhealthservices.ca.
I recently flew to Seattle, Washington, and even though it's a completely cannabis legal state, I was still a little nervous about going through customs, about any indication that I'm a medical cannabis patient. Now, why can't you travel from a medicinally legal country to a recreational legal state without fear of repercussion? Because it's still illegal under federal law, and you can't take your medication over the federal border, because federally it's still classified as a Schedule I drug, right beside heroin. This means that in its current classification, it's deemed to have fewer benefits than Schedule II drugs like cocaine and meth, which are said to have some medicinal value. It may take some time, but it's all going to sort itself out.
So, man, is this like the newest Jedi lightsaber or something?
That's exactly what it is. Airizer Air.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about this bad boy. Is it, how do I charge it? Obviously I see the plug here, but tell me, what am I charging? Is there a battery swap out?
It's one of the things I really like about this guy is that it runs on an 18650 battery.
Sweet.
So common vaporizer battery, something that you can charge outside of this machine, inside of this machine. You can have charged ones in your pocket or in your bag for throughout the day.
Right on.
Yeah, great little
That's
unit.
where it comes, yeah.
Yeah, another thing I really like about it is the way that you load your cannabis in this one. So it comes with these glass mouthpieces that have a chamber for your cannabis right there. What I like to do with it is grind up my cannabis and then use it kind of like a dugout and just push it in there and load it that way.
Yeah,
so,
and it stays in and
yeah,
you just
and then pop it into your machine.
on.
I find it's great for people who have a hard time using their hands, a little bit maybe challenged there. It's a lot easier to have your grinder and just pop it in there instead of trying to pick up the cannabis and load it into the bowl.
Oh, that's a great little unit. And what about temperature? Like
variable temps, I believe there's five options on that one. Yeah, it's got an easy up and down arrows to change your temperatures. It's really a simple machine to use, and it gives you great value.
Yeah, it looks fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
Airizer Air.